Hi, and welcome again to another edition of Stay at Home and Brew It. I am Jeff Pro, and the guy sitting off to my right who just finished buttoning his shirt up.
Yeah, we kind of this kind of has come together rather quickly. So I'm Michael Murphy, though. We're here with you today. We're going to be talking about building your own mash tun. Yesterday we kind of talked about going from extract to all grain, and today we're going to kind of talk about that next step, that building your own mash tun and kind of what all your different options and
Exactly, because one of the first things, as we were talking about yesterday, of going from extract to all grain, a lot of people want to start out with like a 2-vessel system of, basically a big boil kettle and then a mash tun before you start making an investment on other things. And you don't have to spend a whole lot of money on a mash tun, and a lot of times you can do it yourself.
Yep.
Which Michael actually brought his in today. But before we get to that, you'll see a couple different mash tuns. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, that there are insulated ones and then there are uninsulated ones. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages to both of them.
yeah.
Now, the insulated ones are kind of, one of the advantages of them is that they are ones in which you can do relatively easy put together yourself. You're not having to do any welding or anything like that. Or cutting on metal, any of that stuff, unless you're really good at that. And also an advantage of those is that you're not needing a pump, so you can easily just allow your mash to be in there. The temperature may vary a degree or so, depending upon how cold it is.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Yeah, and that can happen, maybe it varies a degree or so. And, but I'd say a disadvantage with the insulated ones is it's difficult to do something like a step mash.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely. I mean, so I have an insulated, without getting too far ahead, I have an insulated mash tun, and it's great, but I've never been able to I want to do like a really good, multiple step, Hefeweizen or something. I just can't do that with my insulated cooler.
Yeah.
But it does, like you said, it'll hold that. I've gotten to the point with my system, I mash in, and it holds within a degree or so. I don't ever check it. I now know if I mash in, I hit my temperature, leave it an hour, and it's gonna be real close to where I want it to.
Nice. Now there are uninsulated ones, and we've got one over here, and we'll show you a picture of it here in just a moment or two. And the uninsulated ones require a little bit of extra equipment. You're gonna have to have a pump. You're gonna have to have some sort of a system, whether it be rims or herms. For those of y'all who missed yesterday's episode, check those out, and we go through an explanation of rim system and herm systems. But in brief, basically what that does is one of them runs your wort past a heating element and then back into your mash tun to maintain a temperature.
Yep.
And the other one runs your wort through some sort of coil device in basically a big hot water bath that heats up. There's kind of a heat exchange that happens, and that keeps that warms your wort up, goes back into your mash tun, and then helps you to maintain your mash temperature that way. But one of the advantages to to like an uninsulated, like with stainless steel, is that you can do things like step mash. Now, we have our very skilled cameraman here today who's going to give you a shot real quick of Michael's insulated mash tun that he has. Now, inside you'll notice one of the things which is in there, which I don't know if it's attached right now, is your manifold.
No, the hose isn't, but I will pull that out. We can show everybody kind of my copper manifold in there.
But as you see, it's a simple cooler that you could get at your local hardware store, Lowe's, Home Depot, something like that, and a lot of materials that you can find too. Now, since we got the manifolds here, we'll go into the manifolds. There's different kinds of manifolds. Now, one, do you make this yourself or did you buy it?
Actually, Sandra made that for me. It was a Father's Day gift, so
Nice.
super easy. So yeah, it was handmade, homemade. And it's just basic.
Made with love.
Yeah, it definitely was made with love. It was actually I want to say my first Father's Day present. But it's real simple. It's just copper. We dry fit everything, and then I did go in with a Dremel tool and then cut all the little slats through it. I get great efficiency with this. Knock on wood here. I've never had a stuck mash, stuck sparge. Never had any problems with that. Super easy to clean. I can take it apart real easily. Run water through it. Really nice, really efficient.
Now, with this manifold in particular, did you, did she measure your cooler or?
Yeah, I remember Sandra did I remember there being a piece of cardboard that she set in the bottom to get like a template to know exactly the size to make it. So, but she did, and that took a little bit of tweaking. You know, I can hook it back up, maybe Stubby can get a shot. It fits perfect in there. It's one of those. There's not a whole lot of extra room.
Nice.
Which I like. It doesn't give me a lot of dead space in there either. And let's see. So I mean, once it's hooked up, like you see, it fits in there like a glove. It's perfect.
Nice. So basically, though, you'd want your manifold to be big enough to cover an amount of space in the bottom. So you don't want it necessarily to be too small.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to make one that's just, you know, real tiny. Sandra actually fixed him up with a really good one there that fit perfectly in the bottom of his mash tun, and was made out of copper. And actually, my first manifold and my first insulated mash tun was actually made with just CPVC pipe.
Okay.
And I was real simple. I was not real skilled with the tools, and so I took a drill and just went zzz, holes all over it. It was not pretty.
How did that go?
It was you like the sound effects?
Well, I will tell you. So, like I said, I cut the slats in that manifold, that copper manifold, and I used a little Dremel, and I burned several wheels. It was one of those. I mean, as you saw in that I want to say every quarter of an inch. There's a lot of little slits in there, and yeah, I burned through the Dremel bits, quite a few of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried. The hacksaw was a pain in the ass too. There's not a good, easy way to do it, but like I said, I've gotten great results out of it, and really confident with my mash tun.
Excellent. So, you know, one option is making it yourself, whether it be with CPVC or copper, as you did. We also have some other examples here of ways of doing manifolds. One's a stainless steel false bottom, which I don't know if you can see, but you've got right here where your hose would hook up, kind of like Michael's hooked up with his manifold. And this is actually a curved surface, if you can kind of see. So it actually sits just off of the bottom of your insulated mash tun, of your kind of round cooler. And so there's just a little bit of dead space, but not a whole lot, which is good because you don't want to have a whole lot of dead space and lose a lot of worth that you could.
A lot of good sugar.
Yeah, a lot of good sugars that you can draw out. And these are not too difficult to get a hold of. We sell them here in different sizes at the shop. Some people use also these mesh screens, which refers
Bazooka
to a
tube,
bazooka
yeah.
tube. I've never used one. Have you, Michael? Or?
I never have.
Okay. Stubby, have
They
you?
work, however, they're not as efficient because
Okay.
you don't have as much surface area as like you would with a false bottom.
Okay. Now, so that's definitely something to keep in mind and consider. That you're wanting your manifold and your bottom to cover a large portion. Now, that brings up a question: do we have to use a round cooler?
No.
Okay. I've seen some people who actually what they'll use is one of those larger kind of chest coolers. I don't know
The
if there's a better-
cube or so, yeah.
Yeah, and or even bigger ones.
Yeah.
And so you can definitely use those, but keep in mind as you do that, that you'll want to make sure that your manifold is going to cover a large area of the bottom.
Yeah.
So again, something to kind of keep in mind. And if you're doing copper, that's a lot of copper. That can get pricey real fast.
Yeah.
Maybe try CPVC. But for that setup, with a large rectangular cooler or square one, you probably wouldn't want to go with one of these round screens. You probably would want to do something different.
Yeah, and that's actually I keep wanting to upgrade my system from just a 5-gallon to a 10 or maybe even a little bit bigger. And I keep looking at maybe going a mash tun like that, one of the bigger cooler type, and building my own manifold again. I just have a hard time getting away from my system because I know it.
Yeah.
I get quality, consistent results, and I don't want to mess that up.
I
So.
understand. I mean, and you stick with what works well for you. Now let's say you're going to build yourself a mash tun, okay? And maybe you're gonna buy yourself a cooler, kind of like Michael has. Michael, what would you say is the size cooler you would want to get?
Oh, 10-gallon.
10 gallon.
Definitely.
Okay. Say 10 gallon or even maybe bigger if you can.
Yeah, they get expensive.
Okay.
I found the 10-gallon runs about, I want to say $60 or so ish.
Okay.
I want to say I got that at Home Depot. They ran $50-$60, and then that next jump in size is a huge
Those are
jump
quite
in
a bit?
price. Yeah.
Okay. But you get yourself a cooler. It's pretty easy to get the spigot out.
Oh yeah, that was super easy.
Yeah, yeah. Just a little bit of elbow grease and you can get that out.
Yeah.
Now, once you get that out, what you want to get is you're going to need to get a ball valve of sorts. Now, here at the shop, we sell one of these things, which is really nice. It's a weldless spigot. So there's an end here that actually would go inside. You can kind of see the space here. I won't take it all the way off. And there's a little washer in here, kind of little rubber washer that actually kind of forms a nice tight seal in there. And what the nice thing about that is this fits in very well, fits in perfectly in through these little coolers, and about anybody can do it. You don't have to have any special skills for it. I think Stubby will get a nice little close up here of it.
Yeah, super nice and easy. It's all pre-assembled for you, so you don't even have to piece together all the little parts. I mean, that's what made it really easy. Like I said, I was able to really easily build this Mash Tun with just a Home Depot cooler. I came and got this. Then Sandra built the manifold, and it was just a couple little things here and there, and boom, I had a Mash Tun.
Nice. So you'd buy yourself a cooler first. Next, you'd go ahead and get yourself one of these weldless spigots. Then you would decide whether you want to construct your own manifold out of copper, like Sandra did for you, or CPVC, or to try even one of these screens, or one of these false bottoms. The next thing, what you would do after you kind of put all that together, and you need to get a little bit of tubing also to kind of connect it all up. Once you've done all that, your next thing to kind of keep in mind is how you want to sparge.
Yeah.
Now, some people are very passionate about fly sparging. Some are passionate about batch sparging. We talked a little bit of that on yesterday's episode. Check it out. We kind of go into details about the difference. But you can actually buy or even build your own sparge assemblies that are built to fit in the lids of these coolers. And they're very nice. Some people would like to make your own, and you can definitely do that. But we also have one that you can just go ahead and buy, and it helps to take some of the guesswork out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
But for those of you who are fly sparging, this is the direction you might want to go. Or I've seen some people that work it so that they kind of run water in with
use silicone hose along the top that drips down. Tinfoil.
Tinfoil. I've seen that too.
I've seen a bunch of different fly sparging techniques. I think you and I both are batch spargers, so
yes.
I've never once fly sparged. I understand the premise and I know how it works, but I can't give much insight there because I'm a batch sparger. It's easy.
I can understand that. Now, so these are kind of some of the things. It's not that difficult to build yourself a cooler or insulated mash tun. Now, there are also uninsulated mash tuns, which we were talking about a little bit earlier. Now, there's one of those actually over here off to my left, and Stubby's going to kind of zoom in on it. This one, I believe it's yours, isn't it?
It's one of my old Mash Tuns.
Okay, did you make it? Okay. Stubby's a little more skilled at the cutting of metal and things like that. He still has all of his digits too, so he must be really good. I would not have all of my digits if I tried that.
Plasma torch.
Yeah, I would definitely not have my digits or my hair. But as you'll notice in he's got his setup actually with one of these false bottoms, and he's got some copper tubing that goes up to his spigot on the outside. Now he has actually also put in a thermometer so that he can monitor his temperature of his mash, and that's always important to be able to know the temperature of your mash, especially when you're doing an uninsulated mash tun like this. And he would have to hook it up probably to your pump.
Yeah, and this is part of a Herm system.
Okay. So he's using a Herm system, and so definitely something to kind of keep in mind. If that's the direction you like to go, it involves a lot more of kind of equipment and a little bit of skill.
One disclaimer I would say, if you're going to use kegs, make sure they're decommissioned kegs from your local brewery. Don't just use them for, because the deposit doesn't cover the cost of the keg.
No, definitely. Don't go buy a keg and then think, I paid a $50 deposit, I bought the keg, and then turn it into a keg.
Because I think, aren't these about $200 and some odd dollars a piece?
Yeah, they're close,
Yeah.
So ask your breweries, because a lot of them will have decommissioned kegs, they won't hold pressure or something of that nature. You can get them probably for a pretty good discount.
Yeah. So always ask about that, because a lot of breweries, especially some of the smaller breweries, these kegs are like gold. They want to make sure they get them back because they're not cheap. So if you go the direction of making your own, like an uninsulated one, like Stubby had with the stainless steel keg, again, make sure it's a decommissioned one, and make sure you're a little bit skilled in the.
Yeah, definitely. That's I've wanted to go the kegel route, which is what we call the kegs that are used as kettles, kegel. But yeah, it's the cutting of the top and everything that I just don't know if I can do.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, I'm kind of skipped over this, but using my Mash Tun here, I found the best piece of advice I found is I also use a brew in a bag. I started as a brew in a bagger, so I had the brew in a bag. I use my brew in a bag, and then I put my grain and mash normally. It makes cleanup so much easy.
Okay.
Because with cleanup, I just pull my brew in a bag out, dump my
okay.
grain, and then boom, my mash tun's ready to be cleaned. Not a whole lot of grain. It makes my lauter, all that, so much easier
Okay.
too. Yeah.
Nice little tip.
And it's a little tip that I actually, I brew crazy stuff, and we were using Fruit Loops in one beer, and it stained, the first time I did it, it stained the mash tun pretty
did it?
decently. And so I happened to hear the guys on the podcast talking about it and making cleanup easy, and I was like, well, damn, I'm gonna do this Fruit Loop beer again, and it was a mess last time, and I haven't gone back. So I have almost that double, type. I have the brew in a bag, which filters it, and then I have my Manifold, which kind of
Nice.
gets anything else that, kind of gets through. So yeah, that's been one of the best tips I received was from one of the guys from the podcast talked about how they did that, and I was like, yes, it makes cleanup so much easier for me. So that's something to keep in mind, for you guys that are using a cooler. Spend $10 or $15 on one of the brew in a bags. Makes cleanup easier, less grain in your boil kettle.
Yeah.
All that
That's-
wonderful stuff.
That's good advice. All right. Thanks, Mike. Yeah. And with all this, I mean, again, you don't have to spend a whole lot of money
No.
to get some of this stuff. You can do it little bit by little bit. And I've known people who would buy the cooler first and
Yep.
then, wait till they could afford to get the material to make a manifold or buy one. And, wait to save up for your spigot and hosing and stuff like that. So, it's something you can get gradually but then once you have it, I mean, these things last.
Oh, definitely. I've been using this mash tun probably 4 years now, 3.5 years. Yeah, 4 years now, I guess. So yeah, it definitely they last, and it's definitely not going anywhere. It's maybe a little stained inside, but just
Well, and I've had I've had times where if it does get stained, I pull everything out and bleach it.
bleach it. Yeah,
Just-
I found sometimes some of those really dark, some of those grain bills that
Yeah.
are really dark with a lot of dark grains. Yeah, it kind of gets some staining inside, but yeah, nothing that's gonna hurt my beer. So
Yeah. All right. Well, let's see. We haven't gotten any questions. Did get a suggestion about doing an episode on beer clarity and what causes some beer to be cloudy and ways to address it. So we'll put that on the docket for an upcoming episode. Thanks for the.
Thanks, Tyler. I think that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
It's something that I have a beer right now that I'm battling, that not pretty clarity that I want. So I think it's a great topic.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thanks for the suggestion. All right. Anything else you can think of, Mike?
I think that's it.
All right.
It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. You don't have to have the pumps and all the fancy stuff. I do it with just a $60 Home Depot cooler.
Yeah.
So
Or if you want to go the fancy direction, you can do that as well.
definitely.
Regardless, though, if there's anything we can help with, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the comments or give us a call here
Yeah.
at Texas Brewing, and we will be happy to answer your questions, help you out in putting together your mash tun. We will not put it together for you, but
No. we will guide you.
We'll guide you.
because it's so easy. You can do it. I mean,
Yes.
it's a very easy project. So
yeah, don't
not
be
much-
afraid.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Yeah.
again, thanks for watching. And
Yeah.
tomorrow, let's see, I think tomorrow's Thursday.
Is tomorrow kombucha day?
I think it is.
I think tomorrow
Is it kombucha day, Stubby?
It is kombucha day.
I think it may be kombucha day. So tomorrow could be an interesting one for those of y'all who have wanted to dabble in kombucha but never thought about it. That's not coming up tomorrow, it's coming up Friday. So it's coming up in the next day or two. So
Yep.
check that out. We'll have James Land back for it, and Cedric, our resident seltzer kombucha guru.
Yeah, something.
He's gonna do it. But anyway, again, thanks for watching. Keep those orders coming, and we're going to run back because we got a bunch of orders to
Yep.
fill. And if you have any questions, give us a call. And
Yeah. Thank everybody for your continued support, continued orders rolling in, and also remember, support your local breweries. These guys are needing us also. So go out, buy some local beer, brew some own beer, brew your own beer.
yeah,
Stay at home.
cheers, y'all. Have a good one.
Cheers.